You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Happy holidays. The Thanksgiving season is upon us. Is it a season for Thanksgiving? I guess it's a holiday season. I don't know if Thanksgiving really gets its own season.
Somebody said that the other day. They were just like, oh, the holiday season is upon us. And I was like, Thanksgiving's not really a season.
Yeah.
We kind of have fall.
It's part of the larger holiday season, but I don't think there's a Thanksgiving season.
No, you have like Thanksgiving week.
Yeah,
you really start to think about it, and you get the bird and you get all the fixins and everything you can. But in terms of it being like, we don't listen to Thanksgiving music for 3 weeks, or we don't watch Thanksgiving specials for 3 weeks.
Right.
You watch it the week of, and then Thursday happens, and everything's in your belly, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much. So I just lied to you, and I apologize that there's no Thanksgiving season, and I wish you a happy Thanksgiving season. But happy Thanksgiving, I guess, is what we're driving at. And for all of our international listeners, this doesn't apply to you, and I'm sorry for digressing for so long about the definition of a season or not for an American holiday. We're already past Canadian Thanksgiving. That was like several weeks ago, and now we're into American Thanksgiving. And the whole thing is off the rails, and we're like 4 minutes into the episode, and I'm sorry, okay?
It's okay, Tyler. It's not your fault. I will go into Good Will Hunting mode if you need me to. It's not your fault.
Welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Mon. His name is Sam Dykstra. We've got a lot coming up for you on the show today. It is our Thanksgiving week episode, so a little bit different from normal episodes. Instead of being by an interview or by Ben or the rest of our regular weekly schedule of events, next segment we will rehash our preseason predictions for 2020. So back, you may recall, in July, we recorded an episode with our good friends Josh Jackson and Kelsie Heneghan, and gave our picks for what we thought would transpire during the 2020 Major League Baseball season. Spoiler alert, not a whole lot of our predictions were correct, but we're going to break down what we chose, what went wrong, what went right, if we did get them right, and all of that. That's coming up here in a little bit. But it's Thanksgiving week, as I've mentioned 75 times. And the thing that we are going to discuss in our opening segment, this has not been an easy year, obviously, for us at MILB.com or for minor league baseball's offices or for teams across the country. We did not get any minor league baseball in 2020. This is a thing that has been a lifeblood to all of us for quite some time. I started my first season working in minor league baseball was 2009. And, I know for Ben and for Josh and for you, Sam, and for Kelsie and for so many other people on our staff, Andrew Batterferrano has been around for so long, and Michael Avalone, and our editors, Darren Smith and Paige Schechter and Dan Marinas and Allison Creekmore. I mean, our whole department, we look forward to sort of the rising of the baseball season in spring and the setting in the fall. And that's what our worlds revolve around. And we didn't get that this year. So that's been tough, but this is a time of year to reflect and think about the things that we are grateful for. And there still is a lot of that in minor league baseball. So we're going to talk about some of that before we get to our preseason prediction revisiting. So Sam, what's the thing that stands out to you from 2020 that you're most thankful for about minor league baseball?
Yeah, I'll shout out two things real quick. And I know I'm usually the baseball person, right? I'm so much more focused on the field, and I'm here to talk to you guys about prospects and how guys improved and what they did on their roads to Major League Baseball. But I think the thing that just stood out to me this year and what I'm really thankful for are two things. One of which is how much minor league clubs are pillars of their community. How many times this year did we hear about events that happened at minor league stadiums to try to not get everybody together? Obviously, we're in a time of social distancing and all that, but to be a place where you could pick up ballpark food or you could donate things to the community. And we talked to Ben a while back about Rocket City trying to set a record, and they didn't quite get there. But guess what? They still got a lot done for their surrounding area. These places aren't just stadiums. They aren't just people based in an office who know how to pull tarp every once in a while. They are community leaders, and they are involved in the community. They are very much in that fabric. So that's one thing I'm grateful for here in 2020 is the role that minor league clubs played in getting us all through this, whether they were in your community or whether they were just trying to find ways to keep us all engaged online or what have you. But also the inventiveness. That's the second thing I'll shout out is, Lord knows nobody invents more in sports than minor league baseball needs to. A lot of that is done out of necessity during a regular season. You got games almost every night of the week. You got to pull people in April when it's cold and in the summer when it's hot, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they try to find ways to bring you there and to make it an enjoyable experience for the entire family. And the way we saw teams invent new ways to use their ballpark. I know I keep going back to a New England example, but Pawtucket turning McCoy Stadium in the last year that McCoy Stadium is going to be a AAA ballpark, turning it into a place where people can eat. They can eat on the field that Red Sox minor leaguers and alt-site players got to play on earlier in the day. And, it was a restaurant by night and a ball field by day. That's amazing. That's so cool. And they needed to find ways to obviously get through this financially for themselves, but also just to keep on as much staff as possible to keep things moving. It seemed like this was a year in which so many front offices had to put their heads together and think, what can we do? And a lot of them came through, and hopefully a lot of them are going to come through on the other side. But to watch that from afar and see what clubs did this year, it's something I'm really grateful for. And hopefully that means even more wacky ideas when we get baseball back again and everybody can fill into stadiums by the thousands. And, hopefully we don't even need a bobblehead or some sort of theme night to get people out, because it'll just be nice to be among each other. We're not there yet. I'm not advocating for everybody to rush out to the ballpark next April if a vaccine isn't ready and if health officials aren't saying we should do that. But given all the brain power that went into minor league teams trying to do something this year, I think the sky's the limit for the next step for them. And I'm really grateful for this, and I'm really grateful for whatever comes next for all these clubs.
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out most to me in 2020 is the outpouring of love that we've gotten from so many people who just love minor league baseball for what it has meant to them in their lives. Obviously, as noted, this has not been an easy year for any of us who are in the minor league baseball realm, and we're still kind of waiting on pins and needles for what things look like in, a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever it is. But to see this constant outpouring of how much people love minor league baseball, they value minor league baseball, what it means to their communities, what it means to their families, and all of that. Minor league baseball occupies this place in Americana and in people's hearts that I don't think other sports really lay the same claim to. And it's been neat to see that so vocalized in 2020. And it's, obviously every year comes with its own set of challenges, but we have all faced so many dark things in 2020. And to be continually reminded that there are people out there who value your industry or your work or whatever it is, that's meant a lot to a lot of us. And for all of you out there who have listened to the podcast, who have gotten in touch with us for over emails or social media or whatever it is, just know that it is extremely appreciated. And it's kept us lifted up in a lot of times this year when we felt pretty down. And that's been really amazing for us to see and to feel all year long.
Yeah. And to all the guests we had on the show as well, people being willing to give their time and speak about baseball at times. One of the interviews I keep going back to was Christian Robinson. I don't know if you can remember way back to that title. That was in March, basically right after we found out that everything's on pause. We don't know what the world's going to look like. And I was trying to think of who's around, who could we talk to? Christian Robinson's a big name. Let's see if we can talk to him. And he walked us through what happened at Arizona camp and gave us 25, 30 minutes. I know a lot of us didn't have anything to do. We were all stuck at home, but still, the conversations we had with Tyler Stevenson That was awesome because we talked to him for like an hour afterwards. Then the interview was
30-minute interview, and then we talked to him for an hour after we got done with the interview segment.
Right, and part of that was great because we, he's one of the interview questions I know I come back to a lot is like, what do you envision your first major league at bat going like? And he hit a home run in his first major league at bat.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And if you listen to that interview, you got to hear about him borrowing in kids' net, I think, like to hit into during quarantine, stuff like that. And
next door neighbor.
Yeah, Tyler's going to mention this later, but our conversations with Josiah Gray and Nick Heath, especially, we talked to him for so long about his experience coming up as a black minor leaguer and what he's seen and what he's heard and what he hopes the sport and the world and the country and all that become next. And, we're people who ask questions, right? That's our job. We're trying to get stories out of people. But to people give those stories so judiciously and spend their time with us basically every week is I'll eternally be grateful for that. That's not just something this week. That's something that I carry every week with me every month and every time we get to turn on the mics and do this job.
So with that, we'll wrap up our brief opening segment on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Kelsie Heneghan and Josh Jackson coming up next.
This past year has shown us that without your health, you have nothing. If you're not well, you can't work, look after yourself, or take care of your family. You can't enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. That's why you need to prioritize taking care of your long-term health today, before it goes from good to bad to worse. So invest in your long-term health with Forward. Forward is intelligent medicine with a personal touch. Their doctors are dedicated to catching top killers like cancer and heart disease early before it's too late. And catching them early could save you tens of thousands of dollars in the long run. Everyone's health history is different, which is why Forward doctors personalize a health plan with you, based on your genetics, lifestyle, and biometrics to achieve long-term results and ensure nothing gets missed. It's time to invest in a doctor that's invested in you. Go to GoForward.com today to protect your future health. That's GoForward.com. GoForward.com.
So diving into the results of our preseason picks, I gave a quick glance at the email in which Sam sent out all of our predictions for the 2020 season. And then when we all hopped on the Zoom call, I said, so did any of us get anything right? Which very, very little. But with that, we're going to get to go through all of them with our pals, Kelsie Heneghan and Josh Jackson, who joined the show. Hello, you two. How are you?
Hello.
I just want to say that Josh messaged me 2 minutes ago and said, quote, "You should know that my phone is across the room, so if you're texting me hilarious or hateful things, I'll be impervious to them." Because ordinarily, if we do a call like this, I just text Josh the most ridiculous stuff. It's usually jokes from this TV show that we both find hilarious, or I'll send him memes or something. But you've defeated me now.
At long last.
I'm powerless to do this. So let's dive in. How, Sam, do we want to do this? Should we just go category by category the way we did? Obviously, we're not going to go into full-on breakdowns of things, but we'll have some conversation for the things that we whiffed on, which are most of these picks. Should we just start at the top, work our way through?
Yeah, I think, Tyler, you introduce the categories that we went through. Just give everybody a refresher on what we did way back when. It really wasn't that long ago.
No,
because it was a 60-game season. But anyway, revisit the categories, then tell the audience who each of our picks were, and we'll just go through. We'll do it the same way we did when we did the actual show, which is we'll kind of snake through everybody and give our thoughts on how things worked out, what we got wrong, what we got right. There are some we got right. I'm just going to say that from the top. I know Tyler's
There'll be a lot more conversation of what we got wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm going to talk more about what I got right than what I got wrong. But yeah, so we'll just kind of snake it through. You guys have the email. We'll go Sam, Tyler, Kelsie, Josh, and then reverse it. Josh, Kelsie, Tyler, Sam for the next category and make our way through all this.
All right, here we go. We're going to start it off with, we had, let's see, in total, I believe there were 9 categories. The one that we opened with, not surprisingly, Rookies of the Year. So we talked about the player who would likely be a former prospect by the end of the season, not necessarily, but likely, and one who would win. the 2020 Rookie of the Year in the shortened season that was the Major League Baseball campaign this year. We did not get anybody right. So the winners, actual winners, Devin Williams, the relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, who also won Reliever of the Year in the National League, and Kyle Lewis, the stud outfielder for the Seattle Mariners. Sam, are we reading our own picks?
No, you read it for us.
I read them all. And then
Yeah.
you justify or explain
Exactly
your thing. Okay. Sam had Dylan Carlson of the St. Louis Cardinals and Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. I had Gavin Lux of the Los Angeles Dodgers along with Luis Robert. Kelsie also had those two picks, and Josh likewise had those two picks. And none of us, we unanimously picked that Luis Robert would win it in the American League. And not only did he not win it, he didn't get a first place vote, which did sort of surprise me. I didn't expect him to win it by the end of the season, but Kyle Lewis was a unanimous selection.
Yeah, I mean, I think just Kyle Lewis got us to such a hot start. I mean, we talked about this a little bit when the season ended and the BBWAA votes actually came out. But Kyle Lewis just got off to such a hot start, definitely cooled down the end, but so did Luis Robert. Didn't really catch him. Luis Robert did get a Gold Glove, so he does have that now. And that's something we all talked about when picking for the American League, was that this was a real 5-tool prospect. Maybe the bigger question was the hit tool. He had some strikeout issues in the minors. How are those going to come out? Those were a little bit of an issue for him this year. Less so for Kyle Lewis, who just overall put up the better offensive numbers. We're going to get into home runs in a little bit. But for National League, we recorded the podcast right after Gavin Lux got sent down to the alternate site. And we all thought at the time, even me who chose Dylan Carlson, that Gavin Lux was going to be there for a brief amount of time. But I thought Dylan Carlson could come up even quicker. He didn't really get that chance. Even when he did come up, he struggled a little bit for the Cardinals. The Cardinals had outfield, was an issue for them at times this year for actually much of the season. And I thought Carlson could kind of break through there. He eventually was a starter, but he even got sent back down, which was disappointing. I think over a 162 game season, Carlson could have been in that mix. He needed to kind of find his bearings, and I think he did there towards the end. But only over 60 games, if you get sent down again, that's a real hamper to your chances. So, but speaking of Devin Williams being a reliever, I don't think he was on any of our cards. If you were to give us 25 prospects who could have won this year, his changeup was absolutely devastating. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But for the voters, it was really hard to overlook a 0.33 ERA over 22 appearances, even if it was as a reliever in a short amount of time. He just had such an impact that we really couldn't see coming. You can never predict a 0.33 ERA. So that's just kind of the way it goes on that end. But Kelsie, how are you feeling about yours afterwards? Or I guess Tyler, you're next, but with Lux and Robert, how do you feel like that aged, and specifically, what do you feel like went wrong with Lux?
I think that's a good question. Like you said, he had just been sent down when we started recording. We did not see him in the major leagues until August 27th, which was way later than certainly I anticipated. And he just never really found much of a groove. I know the strikeouts are a pretty big problem for Gavin Lux. He struck out, I think, in 14 of the 19 games that he played at the major league level. He only ended up hitting 175 with a 596 OPS. I feel bad doing this to Gavin Lux because today is his 23rd birthday. So happy birthday to Gavin Lux. He's going to be fine. I mean, I'm not certainly worried about Gavin Lux. I think the issue has been just somewhat sporadic time at the big league level over the last couple seasons. In 2019, makes up to the majors, only plays in 23 games. That's 240 with a 705 OPS. I think if he were to get regular time, he's going to be exactly the guy that we expect him to be. That just did not happen this year. And then Luis Robert, all the things you said about Luis Robert. I'm not gonna expand on them. I don't have anything smart to add there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of said it all. I mean, Luis Robert, you still tied Lewis with 11 home runs to lead MLB rookies, and he topped us and led MLB rookies with 31 RBIs. There is a year or world where that would be enough to win Rookie of the Year. Plus, we said his defense. So I'm still happy with Robert. And then, like you said, with Gavin Lux, he just did enough at bats to be consistent. So, I mean, I feel good about what he does next year and what he builds off of this. I mean, in many ways, maybe this was just his way of kind of getting all of those nerves and all of those instant at bats out of the way, and then next year he'll be ready to go from the get-go.
Josh, anything to add on Lux and Robert?
Yeah, I mean, not really, but I'll blab anyway. What went wrong for Lux is really, I think, and this is just piling on to what people have said, but is what went right for the Dodgers. And in terms of like need and strength in positions where he would be plugged in. Obviously, that was a pretty good ball club this year. So, you know, and when with Robert, I don't think anybody, I mean, obviously a heck of a year. I think we should, for a second, just pause to consider how great this is to like Kyle, and ending this is to Kyle Lewis's sort of minor league tenure. It hasn't always been sunshiny, and it's been a lot of like, gee, he could be so good, I hope it's going to work out. And a lot of that, of course, is just injuries, just that like the knee problem that seemed like, I don't know, it seemed to me that time has no meaning anymore, but I'm pretty sure for like 15 years there, Kyle Lewis was in the minor leagues with a knee injury. That's
what it felt like.
Right to you guys? Yeah. It was like, oh, he's going to miss most of this season. And then the next season, it was like, oh, he's doing well, but that knee is, still kind of questionable. And every time that, anybody really got to see him play for a stretch, he pretty much did. He got on base, he hit for power, and performed at, like the kind of player that everybody hoped he would be. But it was sort of easy, I feel like, for a little while to start to wonder if he was going to be one of those players who just either end up not making it to the majors. But yeah, it's weird because obviously he's a player now who you can see like becoming an all-star multiple seasons. So I think that's like the happiest, best possible outcome for that story. And kudos for him and everything that he did to get himself into the position where, like in 2016, we all probably thought he was going to be. And then, maybe that faith might have wavered for a lot of people in, the next couple of years there. So I think that's the great thing here, that no, of course, none of us picked him to be Rookie of the Year, because I think any of us would have been just thrilled for him to see him have like a pretty good major league season. So that's what I have to say about that. I also want to mention that Devin Williams, this is just, Sam mentioned that 0.33 ERA. I just want to mention 27 innings and 53 strikeouts, because that to me is a little bit hard.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous. So let's move on to another category involving Rookie of the Year. We also picked Dark Horse Rookie of the Year candidates. And I am going to start with Josh, who selected a guy. We had some names in here of players who we thought would factor into this conversation, some of whom did not make the major leagues. But Josh's selection, I think, was a good one. He just didn't make it into the big leagues this year.
Oh, did he not win?
Oh wait. I have to read them all out. Mackenzie Gore, the San Diego Padres. I also don't know why you only have one, lazy.
He didn't think we needed one of each.
That's fine, Josh, to do half-ass work on this podcast. That's fine. Kelsie picked Cecil Sanchez of the Miami Marlins and Brady Singer, the Kansas City Royals. I had a very dark horse pick with Shogo Akiyama, the Cincinnati Reds, coming over from Japan, and Jared Kelenic at the Seattle Mariners, who also did not make the major leagues. And Sam, sticking with the brand, picked another Sam, and Sam Hilliard of the Colorado Rockies, and Evan White of the Seattle Mariners. Josh, Mackenzie Gore would have been a fantastic selection.
Well, first of all, let me say, if you go back and listen to the podcast, I think I said my dark horse candidate was that there would be no American League Rookie of the Year.
This is not true. This is not true.
Honestly, I don't think that's true. Check the tape.
This is not true.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But, Mackenzie Gore. The question, he'll come up again, linked to my name. And the question for me was how much playing time he would get. And I did, I still kind of feel like had this been like the year for him to get a lot of major league exposure, sure. I think he might have been in that conversation. He at very least has the potential. It's interesting thinking ahead to, 2021. He's one of every prospect who, in a way, lost a lot in this season by not being in competitive games for him every 5 days or every 5 games. But he's still any year that he is a rookie, I think he's a fine Rookie of the Year candidate. What made him a dark horse Rookie of the Year candidate is I wasn't so sure he would get up there, and he didn't. So,
all right, that's fair.
That's fair. Yeah. All right,
Kelsie, fire away.
Yeah, so I had Brady Singer, which I still feel, somewhat decent about. He did lead rookies with 61 strikeouts. Spoiler alert for our later conversation. And he did show glimmers of success a few times. Like he had a few scoreless outings, a few quality starts. What's also exciting is I think that he's just a pitcher that a lot of Royals fans can really sink their teeth into and be really excited to have, a homegrown pitcher continue on in the way that they had Greinke before. And, the Royals fans that I know from going to Mizzou, seem to really like him. So I think that, in a way he was a Rookie of the Year in the hearts of Royals fans, and that counts for something. And then I had Sixto Sanchez, who, we talked about the Marlins and their, how exciting they've been this year. And I think he was a big part of that. He didn't necessarily finish the regular season strong, but he had a streak of, I think, 3 or 4 starts in a row where he allowed a total of 3 earned runs. So he was doing pretty well with his fastball that is grades out at 70. And then in the postseason, he got a scoreless outing in the game that the Marlins won to eliminate the Cubs and go to the NLDS. So, yes, they were not the front and center Rookie of the Year options, but I think that they're still pretty exciting.
On the selections that I kind of, and I admitted this, I think, during the summer episode, my National League pick was kind of a cheat because Shoko Akiyama, not a prospect, and he was 32. But I thought, that's sort of a cheat code for Rookie of the Year. What if he comes over, 60-game season? He has a great debut season in Major League Baseball. Maybe he wins it. Really wasn't terrible. It wasn't a bad season. Akiyama played in 54 games for the Reds, hit 245, only a 654 OPS, but, getting adjusted to a new league and all that type of stuff. On the other side, Jared Kelenic, similarly to Mackenzie Gore, did not make his big league debut. But if you're a Mariners fan and he is, knocking on the doorstep already, you've got one American League Rookie of the Year in your outfield right now in a dude who you should really be excited about in Kyle Lewis. And Jared Kelenic potentially gives you another one next year, so that's nothing to be too down about. Sam also had one from that organization and then one from the National League as well. Maybe.
I'm plugging into a muted mic. This is becoming a podcast just for myself, I guess. I'll start with Evan White.
That's how I live my life.
Yeah. Evan White, again, we talked about this with Luis Robert, how he won a Gold Glove. Evan White won a Gold Glove this year, which was, I think, wholly deserved. We've talked about this for a long time with him. We've even had him on the show to talk about his defensive prowess at first base, not a position we normally think of as being really good defensively, but he is exceptional over there. So that was never in doubt for me. It was how much is he going to hit? And I thought he did enough last year at AA Arkansas. He had a 132 WRC plus. Southern League can be a little bit of a pitcher's league at times. He slugged 488. He had 18 homers in 92 games. I thought he did enough there to be like, okay, I see why they gave him the contract. Obviously, Seattle saw something in him as well, giving him a major league deal. before he had debuted, before he'd even seen AAA. But the offense was a real struggle for him this year. He hit just 176. He struck out in 41.6% of his plate appearances, did have 8 homers. He played in 54 games, so they were willing to ride it out with him. And obviously he's going to be a big piece of their future. If he can turn it around, that's going to be a big help to the next contending team in Seattle. But a 66 WRC plus, and he was worth -0.2 WAR according to Fangraphs. So a lot to grow on with the bat for Evan White, and that took him out of contention there. I should also point out with the Gold Gloves, because I mentioned them a couple times so far today, those were not voted on this year. Those were based exclusively on stats. So obviously stats shine on him, which is great, and I'm sure his reputation will only grow from here. But just something I want to throw out there. And then Sam Hilliard, I picked him based on what he did at the tail end last year with Colorado when he had an OPS above 1,000 when he had 7 home runs in 27 games. He's somebody who typically has stolen bases in the minor leagues, but just not something he did this year in the majors with the Rockies. Didn't really get consistent playing time either, only played 36 games, hit .210 with a 710 OPS. Again, the power for him is over the fence power. He had 10 extra base hits. 6 of those were home runs. So there's some interesting pieces there with him, but in terms of him being a dark horse, I mean, I feel better about him being in this category than the first category. But yeah, just didn't quite come through with it on that. And it was funny re-listening to this episode because Sam Hilliard I could have used the same logic that I used with Hilliard and put it on Kyle Lewis. So when I heard myself making my AL pick and being like, and in the AL, I'm going to go with the Mariners. And I'm like, come on, say it. And I didn't, because Kyle Lewis had a great ending to last year in the majors, got a little bit of confidence, got his feet wet, and built on that in the way Hilliard didn't, and in the way Evan White didn't even get a chance to last year. So the formula wasn't wrong. I just applied it in the incorrect way. And that's what I'm going to stick with.
Okay, Nate Silver.
Fair enough.
Prospect home run champion, 2 of our pickers actually got half of this correct. Luis Robert and Kyle Lewis tied with 11 home runs apiece. Both Sam and Josh picked Luis Robert. Sam also mentioned Kevin Cron, who is now off to play in Japan following this 2020 season. Josh also mentioned Austin Hayes, who finished with 4 homers. Kelsie and I both went with Dylan Carlson, who finished with 3. As noted, not a great season for Dylan Carlson. But Sam, kick us off. Luis Robert did not disappoint.
No, he did not. And the funny thing about this, too, is trying to remember where we were when we recorded this. And one of the greatest things about summer camp, if you can remember back to then, was certain teams were very good about sharing video, and the White Sox were one of them. And it felt like every day when we were checking Twitter, we were seeing another Luis Robert bomb. That's something we saw last year at Winston-Salem, Birmingham, and Charlotte. And to see him carry that forward, especially after the long layoff of March, April, May, and June, was really special. So it felt to me like he was going to be the go-to pick. And he came through in that way. 11 homers. 11 homers is not quite like major league leading territory, quite yet for him. And we'll see where that power can go from there. Again, he has some problems with off-speed stuff. How is he going to correct that? And how are pitchers going to pitch him after now seeing him for 60 games and having 60 games of tape on him? We'll see how that goes forward and how the hit tool is going to play into the power tool. We know when he makes contact, it goes a long way, and it might be the most exciting tool he has in terms of highlight reel stuff. So yeah, it was really exciting to see him come through in that way.
Thought Dylan Carlson was going to be one of those guys who, again, in a short season, it's so much that's difficult to predict about a year like this, but felt like he had the potential to do it, and just doesn't happen sometimes. And over a 60-game season, you don't really get, I think so many teams this year, you realize somebody's struggling and you don't want to continue to go to that well. And so Dylan Carlson just never really got it put together this year, but I still think there's a very bright future for him.
We've talked a lot about Dylan Carlson already today, so I'll be short, but I liked seeing him in the postseason, how exciting he was with Yachty batting behind him. He didn't hit a home run in the postseason, but he did have 3 hits, 4 walks, a stolen base, a couple runs scored. So he was like a part of the action for the limited time that we're in the postseason. So I think that's still encouraging for a team like the Cardinals that like the postseason is where they live.
Do I get an extra credit or a demerit for one of Austin Hayes' home runs being an inside the Parker?
If you had predicted
Extra
it, we would
credit.
have given you credit.
I think if you go back and listen to the tape, you'll find that I did.
Josh, you know this tape exists on the internet.
A lot of things exist on the internet, Kelsie.
True.
One thing I want to point out, though, just to credit Kelsie and Tyler in terms of why Dylan Carlson was a good pick. I mentioned before he got sent down for a brief time for about 2 weeks in September. When he came back, he played 12 games. He slugged .611 in those final 12 games. He obviously unlocked something. Now, 12 games isn't a huge sample, but it's still a fifth of this season.
Oh, see, when we did this category, I read it as who is going to be the best slugger in the final 12 games of his season.
Well,
I read that too.
If you go back
I
in the
got
tape,
same
that's
copy.
what we'll hear you
You
say.
check the tape. I'm sure you will find. That was my
He would
deduction.
have a pace of 15 home runs.
Oh man. Let's move on to the pitching version of this same category, which is the prospect strikeout champion. Brady Singer ends up taking that title with 61 strikeouts. Of course, Kelsie touched on Brady Singer a little while ago. Sam very nearly got there. He had Jesus Luzardo, who finished with 59. I had Casey Mize, did not get as much big league time. He had 26. Kelsie and Josh both with good picks. Nate Pearson, he struck out 16, but spent some of the season injured as well. So, Josh, I guess you can start us off talking about, or Sam, is it you? I've already lost track.
I think it's Josh.
We're 4 categories in and I've lost track. Josh, tell us about Nate Pearson.
Well, he was injured. I think it was some sort of strain on a throwing arm. Sam, help me out.
No, it was a throwing arm injury for him this year. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that. I think he would have struck out more people had he not been injured and missed a significant amount of time.
It's a bold declaration.
I mean, yeah, he had 16 strikeouts in 18 innings when he was healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is good, and he will be good when he is healthy.
That is true.
That is our breaking hot take.
Just to be more specific, it was a flexor strain in his right elbow. But the fact that he
That's what
returned
Josh
at all.
said.
What?
Josh said that. Check the tape.
Yes. Just said that now or said that back?
Yeah,
in-
he did. He made it back, and so like, I think that's a good thing for Blue Jay fans. There's no and then he missed the rest of the year, and now he's got this long, cold Toronto COVID winter. Not that he has to stay in there, but and will he ever be the same again? It's like, no, he'll be the same.
Yeah. No, I think that's the important thing to take away from his season.
I also just want to say that, thinking about when we record this, in my notes, I wrote that he can make fast work at PNC Park. So that's where we were.
What a snapshot in time that was.
Yeah,
I know, right?
That was for the 16 hours that we thought they were going to be the Pittsburgh Blue Jays this year. And then they were going to be the Baltimore Blue Jays. And then they ended up as the Buffalo Blue Jays. And folks, get ready for the Tampa Raptors come basketball season. 7 starts for Casey Mize. He did not get called up to the majors until August 19th. He had one pretty good start toward the tail end of his time in the big leagues, 5 1/3 on the road at whatever mortgage company field in Chicago. 1 hit, couple of runs, walked 2, struck out 5. That was really about the only great day for Casey Mize this year. But again, it's a guy who was in very limited exposure to the major leagues. He's only 23 years old. He was a first overall selection just 2 years ago. Definitely not worried about Casey Mize. And if I was a Tigers fan, with the way the Tigers sort of hung around the playoff picture, didn't have a great season, but we're still in the mix for a postseason spot. Getting Casey Mize some experience this year, that excites me, even if it wasn't pretty. I mean, he finishes the year with a 6.99 ERA. I'd still be excited because now 2021 Casey Mize has that experience under his belt. And I'm happier about that going forward than I would be if he had spent the whole year at the alternate training site. So I think big strides there for Casey Mize. Did strike out 26. He only walked 13 in 28 1/3. but did not win the crown. Sam, very close with Jesus Luzardo, though. You're only 2 off the pace.
Yeah, and Jesus Luzardo just goes into a lot of what my theories were for these picks, looking back on them, which was who played in the majors in 2019 and who did I think could propel that forward. And Luzardo, had his own injury worries. I think at the beginning of the year, his first 2 appearances were out of the bullpen. They worked him slowly into it, and then he started making starts at the beginning of August. Pretty consistently was about a strikeout an inning. That's actually exactly what his average was: 59 strikeouts, 59 innings. Not quite the year I think that I thought he was capable of, or that probably the A's or even himself thought he was capable of. A 4.12 ERA, not great. A 4.19 FIP means that that wasn't fake. He didn't get unlucky. That about lines up with what the contact he was giving up. He gave up 9 homers in 11 appearances or 12 appearances, excuse me. So yeah, I still think good things are ahead for Jesus Luzardo, but in terms of him being the ace of the A's staff, that's not quite happening. A solid 2 or 3 starter, that's more what we're looking at with him. The strikeout numbers are still there, and age is still on his side as well. He just turned 23 in September. So a lot of those guys are typically pitching at AAA, maybe just getting their start. Now he's got 2 years of major league experience under his belt. We'll see where he can take that next step. And honestly, the example I'm going to carry forward with me for a while now is going to be Lucas Giolito. Now Luzardo has not been as bad as Giolito was at times for the White Sox. But Giolito has shown us you can be a very, very, very good pitcher in the minor leagues and have the foundation of a good pitcher and struggle for a little while in the majors and then find yourself again. Luzardo has all those makings that Giolito did. He has a little bit more success now than Giolito did to start his career. Expect him to take that leap or that next step. It might still only be as a number 2 or 3 starter, but it'll be better than it was in 2020.
Moving on to surprise debut. And I want to point out that there will be a specific category following this category to talk about how wrong my pick specifically was for this category, which I find curious. Sam picked Braylon Marquez, who did make his debut on September 27th. I picked Wander Franco of the Tampa Bay Rays. Kelsie picked Jackson Rutledge, and Josh, who only selected 1 Dark Horse Rookie of the Year candidate, selected 2 candidates for this category. So Josh can't follow instructions. He picked Mackenzie Gore and Keibert Ruiz. Ruiz, who did make his debut. Sam, Marquez, kick us off.
Yeah, so the Cubs actually did bring up Marquez for 1 game, or he made 1 appearance anyways on September 27th, very late going, kind of to get a look at him before the playoffs, which honestly is kind of what I expected. The reason why this was a surprise, or I listed it as a surprise, is he only had 5 starts at Class A Advanced Myrtle Beach in 2019. He also had 17 starts at Class A South Bend. This was a massive jump, but we saw this a lot in 2020, guys getting called up from Class A Advanced. Sam Huff is another one that comes to mind. I'm sure there's lots of other names we've come up with. But the majors were actually fairly aggressive in having guys skip not 2 levels, but 3, sometimes even 4 levels, and getting them to the majors. Jose Garcia of the Cincinnati Reds is another one that comes to mind right away, right now. But Marquez turned 21 in January, can throw really hard from the left side. That's always going to get you a long look. Unfortunately, his 1 appearance didn't go well. He allowed 5 earned runs. He walked 3 batters, gave up 2 hits, and I think he had 2 wild pitches as well. Control is going to be a major issue for him. He's kind of that typical pitching prospect style right now. He's at 6'4". He's got the frame to do it. He just needs to control himself. And, he's got the heat to pitch really well. But if this time next year we're saying the same things about him, okay, you start talking about moving him to the bullpen exclusively. We'll see if the Cubs have that conversation with him even earlier next year, something to watch. But still really neat to see them give him his chance like this. And now he can say he's been in the majors at 21, and maybe he goes to AA next year, maybe even goes to AAA, knowing that he at least reached the show. So something to follow with him going forward. But anything going forward with him won't be a surprise now that this debute's out of the way.
Wander Franco did not debut, although there was some speculation that maybe he would in the postseason, maybe even in the World Series. He did not. And I guess that's that. He's currently playing right now in the Dominican Republic, although he has missed the last couple of games with what seems like a fairly minor injury. But, I wanted to make a bold pick. It's a surprise debut category, but he didn't make it.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
okay.
that.
My pick also did not make it. I picked Jackson Rutledge of the Nationals. He was their first rounder last year out of a JUCO in Texas. So he also went to, so he does have big game experiences. He has a 70-grade fastball that mixes well with the plus slider. And yeah, like Tyler said, you got to think outside the box or be really bold. So I picked him, but he did not get called up, though he did do well in Fredericksburg at the alt training site. And the Nats said that he improved his ability to repeat his delivery and made some big strides. So who knows, maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Yeah. So Mackenzie Gore, I've touched on before. Did not pitch in the major leagues this year, or in the minor leagues for that matter. And Kever Ruiz, he did make a debut. He played a couple games. He hit a home run in one of them. So that's an outstanding pick, I think. No, I don't. I'm walking that back a little bit. I don't think it's that great of a pick because, to be honest with you, in the scenario I was envisioning, I think I imagined him playing more than 2 games, doing more than a debut, and sticking around for a little bit. And I envisioned that happening maybe through some injuries, some roster, some unforeseen roster juggling, or a need for that on the big club, on the Dodgers. And instead, Will Smith did a little unforeseen roster business of his own there and did kind of the lion's share of at least half. Let me look here. He did most of the catching for the Dodgers, and did a heck of a job too. So it was not sort of the prime conditions for the Kever Ruiz surprise debut that I had envisioned. That said, he did indeed debut, and I will collect my trophy when this recording is over.
And Josh, I'll give you a little bit more credit too, because he was on the wild card series roster as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Back when in the postseason, teams were like, maybe we should carry 3 catchers because it's a 28-man now, and that's how we'll make the space. And Austin Barnes and Will Smith, like you said, both of those guys could also DH at times. So Ruiz, in his own way, was a useful member of the Dodgers roster, even if he didn't actually get in many games played on the field.
Yes. So double the trophy.
Double the trophy. Yes, that's
Exactly.
That's what you should take away from that, Josh.
What I would like to take away from this is why we then had a subsequent category just for the 3 of you to disagree with my pick. We had a whole category, evidently, as Sam put in the email, titled "Does Wander Franco Debut?" And I said yes, and it says Sam, Josh, Kelsie - no. What was this category all about?
Sensible Americans say no.
Yes, 3 out of 4 Americans say no. Tyler alone says yes. But no, this sprung out of, I actually wanted to make this a category because I do feel like it was going to be a hot button issue this year. And then Tyler said, Wander Franco was going to be his
bold.
Yeah, was his bold prediction to make his debut. Wander Franco being the number 1 overall prospect, and in such a weird year, talk about somebody who had only played at Class A Advanced. Were they going to push him to the majors? If that happened, that would have been our story of the year. That would have been massive. Instead, it wasn't. It didn't happen. But when you said that, I wanted to open it up to the group. I didn't put it in our initial notes, but I opened it up to the group after that. So I guess I'll ask the other question. Should he have this year?
Ooh,
I'm going to say no. I don't want to rush him.
Yeah, I mean, they made it to the World Series without him.
Yeah,
I guess they were doing fine.
They did pretty well.
Also,
They did
no
pretty
one
well.
needed. Also, he would have taken away a lot of attention from Randy Rosarena, who deserved all of the attention this year.
I was going to say, when the Dylan Carlson conversation came up, I was going to tell Cardinals fans not to think too much about who could have been in that outfield also, but had to bring it up anyway. Sorry, Cardinals fans. Dylan Carlson's going to be fine. He'll be fine.
And Matthew Liberatore will probably be fine.
Right, exactly. But it was probably not super fun during the World Series or the ALCS or the ALDS. Or the wild card round. Okay, moving on from categories specifically to dissect how wrong I was. Surprise team to use prospects. Sam and I both picked, I think, probably the best selection here, but I don't think it happened in the manner that we expected. We both selected the Miami Marlins, which we will dive into here. Kelsie picked the New York Yankees, specifically talking about their young pitchers. And Josh chose the Minnesota Twins. Alex Kirilloff is kind of the one that he pointed out. Josh, you're up first. Tell us about your Twins selection.
Yes. Evidently, I picked the Twins. I have not much memory of what I was thinking in this category, to be honest. But I can tell you that in addition to Kirilloff, the Twins got a good 26 games out of Ryan Jeffers, and put up pretty good offensive numbers for catcher coming up in that position. And Lamonte Wade also played in 16 games for them. I'm a pretty bright guy.
Kelsie, the Yankees and their pitching staff.
So I'm glad that I specifically said pitchers because the Yankees used 9 rookies this year. 8 were pitchers. So there you go. Specifically, Nick Nelson, Michael King, and Davy Garcia got most of the work. But yeah, 8 pitchers. That seems good that they relied on them. I mean, obviously, the Yankees tend to be injury prone over the past few years, and this year, I mean, they had Severino and Canely at times, and obviously Paxton was gone. But for the most part, they weren't as injury prone as they can be. So that was where my initial prediction was at. But no, I like I think Davy Garcia, he got off to a strong and then kind of slowed down as it went on. But what I loved about what he was doing was that the Yankees were leaving him in. Like, he pitched 7th inning 5 of his 7 starts. And I mean, maybe it's just from watching the postseason as my most recent baseball, but like having a young guy pitch in the 7th inning is crazy. To have him do it all the time is very encouraging. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't pick, the best answer, but I'm happy with it.
Sam and I both choosing the Marlins. I think we kind of felt like the Marlins, maybe they catch lightning in a bottle, they get out to a good start, and you start drawing on some of this young talent to bolster your chances of making a run in the National League East. The Marlins ended up having to draw on that young talent because their roster was ravaged by COVID early on in the season. So when you look back at the conclusion of 2019 and the top prospect list from that group, Sixto Sanchez obviously makes a big impact this year. Jesus Sanchez, the outfielder who was their number 3 prospect, got some big league time. Jazz Chisholm was up, Monte Harrison, Edward Cabrera, Braxton Garrett, Trevor Rogers. These are names that in an ordinary season, a lot of those names we would not have seen at the major league level. We thought maybe there would be some circumstances in 2020 that led to those guys being leaned on. It was not really the way that I think we expected, but they certainly did have to turn to all that young talent. Now, that being said, I didn't expect them to make a playoff appearance, and they did. And not only that, but they go on the road to Chicago and knock out the Cubs in the opening round of the postseason in the National League. This is something that has not been said much in the last 17 years of baseball. It's a fun time to be a Marlins fan right now. Got a new GM, ton of exciting young talent, make the playoffs, win a series in that opening round in Chicago. The Marlins have a very bright window opening.
They do. And a lot of what they have to decide next is which of these prospects are going to stick. Some of these guys, Sixto Sanchez is definitely sticking. Like, Sixto Sanchez turned into basically their ace down the stretch. Kelsie mentioned his playoff start, which was phenomenal to watch. And it was really fun to watch, given our jobs, knowing what he's done in the past, both in the Phillies and the Marlins systems, and then having everybody realize who he is about the same time. and kind of being like, no, he's always been this dominant. It was pretty fun. But, Jazz Chisholm had his struggles at times. Jesus Sanchez got sent down. Monte Harrison basically was used as a defensive replacement / pinch runner at certain places. They still have to figure out what they want to do with the outfield, but they have so many options. I mean, that's what made this run so great. And Don Mattingly won Manager of the Year because, he was pressing the right buttons, but a lot of that has to go into how deep they've made this organization and how deep they've made the farm system, and being able to bring up just guys who ooze talent is great. I know, like I said, I know Monte Harrison certainly has his strikeout worries, but there aren't that many better people to go out and just grab a baseball in the outfield. And his arm is especially good as well. He's good on the base pass. Lewis Brinson isn't a prospect anymore, but at one time really was a great prospect. He's somebody who can still play well either in center or in right. The way they were able to make the playoffs this year is a testament to what they're building. Now they have to make those next calls, but Kim Heng being at the helm there, they certainly got somebody who's experienced, somebody who's ready for that challenge. And I'm really excited to see what they do and try to take that next leap, because I don't think they should be thinking in terms of, okay, what can we do to contend in 2022? They're already there. What are they going to do to either push these guys internally or get some external help and really get them in the mix there with the Nats, who are 1 year removed from winning a national or a World Series, the Mets, who are definitely going to contend next year with the financial implications of their new owner, the Braves, who are good year in and year out, and the Phillies as well. It's going to be really exciting times for that Marlins system. And the way they were able to build it is where we started to see a little bit of growth this year, but hopefully we can only see that expand out to more, to the JJ Bledays, maybe even the Max Myers. Edward Cabrera would like to see him make his debut. Lewin Diaz is waiting, or he got 14 games this year, but would like to see him expand on that a little bit. There's more here that still haven't arrived on the major league scene yet. So keep them eyes peeled on Miami for the next couple months.
And 2 categories to go. Prospect likely to go viral. I don't know if we have like a winner of this category, but we all selected our own prospects. Now, a couple of these names, mine specifically, did not make the major leagues. Sampic, Nate Pearson. I took Mackenzie Gore. We both thought that those were pitching ninja gifts of immortality just as shoo-ins. And obviously Mackenzie Gore did not happen. Kelsie took Taylor Trammell, and Josh chose Derek Hill. Sam, Nate Pearson, I think had he been healthy all season, we probably would have seen that. We did see some of it, but not, I guess, quite in the way that maybe we would have expected from a full season.
Yeah, no, for sure. The one thing I'll do here instead, because we talked a lot about Nate Pearson and how he missed time with the flexor strain, is because this one isn't as hard and fast. It's not home runs, strikeouts, or rookie of the year. So I'll open it up instead this way, and I'll throw out who I think did go viral as a rookie or a prospect this year. And that is where I'm going to bring back Devin Williams. Devin Williams' pitch might have been the most shared, I think, on Pitching Ninja this year. That was part of my thought process for going with Nate Pearson. But Devin Williams' changeup might have been the best in baseball this year. The way he was able to get swings and misses on it, the way he was able to play it off of his fastball and still make people think he was going to throw the fastball, even though he threw the changeup 52.7% of the time. Batters only got 2 hits off it all year, and they struck out 41 times off the changeup. It was just crazy stuff for him. So I feel like, whatever you wanted to call that weapon, people were trying to name it. People were trying to share as many clips of it as they could. They were sharing highlight reels. There were other guys who went viral in their own ways. I think anytime Kyle Lewis got a single hit, all of Seattle rejoiced. So he had the northwest corner of the country locked down pretty well. And Luis Robert did a couple times. The ones I'm thinking of are on the defensive side, where he would steal a ball away from Eloy Jimenez. He would come all the way to left field, stuff like that. But I think Devin Williams with his changeup might have taken the cake in this category. Do you guys have any other ones that you can think of that really struck a chord? I know, Kelsie, you spent a lot of time looking at social media.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with my pick of Taylor Trammell. When I picked him, I said that, he has a big personality and he can hit the home runs and rob home runs and also try to steal and do fun, but that he also uses his platform for social injustices. And in September, he wrote a piece for the Players Tribune called "Baseball is Not Black Enough." And yes, this was not a web gem, this was a pitch or anything that exciting, but he did, by all definitions and all accounts, go viral. This was one of the most shared things I saw across my feeds, and not just baseball fans, but just in general, just to have his voice speak out. So I'm pretty proud of that. And then he also got traded, so that's more viral headlines. But just to leave with the piece of Taylor Trammell rather than me just bragging about him doing well, I'll just read the last lines. It says, "There's real change happening, but we got to get louder in baseball. You hear me? We need voices, and we need more Black players on the field. What are we waiting for?"
Yeah, Taylor Trammell's a pretty awesome guy. And he's one of those voices that we really read a lot from and learned a lot from. This summer we obviously had Josiah Gray and Nick Heath on the show, and it was a really interesting time to see guys using their platforms in such different ways than we were used to. In a summer like this that was so different from ordinary summers. And Taylor Trammell, pretty cool stuff. Josh, with Derek Hill, any Derek Hill updates?
Yeah, he made a few catches. I don't think that any of them were as totally wild or totally owned the night of web gems the way that I anticipated. But I'll stand by the pick because I still think he's capable of that. He did.
Yeah.
There was like one night in September, I was trying to find the video and I couldn't, so that tells you how viral it didn't go. But there was like a game in September when he made a really incredible catch against the Indians. Keep your eye out for more viral tweets and such featuring Derek Hill, is what I'll say.
I like it. And our final category, World Series champions. We had one correct selection. We also had one correct selection of the matchup. And that one was Sam. Sam chose the Tampa Bay Rays over the Los Angeles Dodgers. I, being the eternal optimist that I am, said, well, it's 2020. The Astros are probably going to win it all given the rest of this year. They came close to making it back. But I also did mention the Los Angeles Dodgers and Atlanta, apparently, according to these notes, because I don't remember. Kelsie took the Yankees, also noted that the Dodgers she thought would be in it. And Josh chose the Dodgers to win. So congratulations to at least current Los Angelino Josh Jackson for his correct selection.
Thank you, Tyler. I know how much that means coming from you and you're rid of the Dodgers. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It did just seem like this was kind of going to be the year where, like, all right, if they don't win, like, they have to win, right? And they did. So, yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Kelsie, Yankees, another tough postseason for them this year, but still a team that's, they are the Yankees still.
He just ran out of steam once again. They have all the pieces, and all season long they were inconsistent. They would either score 12 runs or 0 runs. So that you can't do that in the postseason.
Yeah, I just figured all the narratives were bad in 2020 so far, so why wouldn't the Astros win the World? And honestly, when they came back from down 3-0, I was like, oh, of course this is the way it's going to happen. Like, there was so much baseball schadenfreude over the 3-0 lead for the Rays. Then all of a sudden it was going to Game 7, and it was just like, well, this would figure that this is the way it's going to be. But the Rays able to outlast the Astros. I kind of figured the Dodgers were going to be there in the end. Didn't know if necessarily they were going to win it, but they're just so good, that team. And the team that blew a substantial LCS lead to them, Atlanta, was my other thought piece as well. Two teams that I would imagine we're probably going to see matching up in the postseason in years to come as well. And Sam, you went for it with the Rays and came up just short.
Yeah. It was funny listening back to that episode because I paused for about 3 seconds and I remember vividly just the thought going in my head of ping ponging back between the Rays and the Dodgers, Rays and the Dodgers, Rays. And I settled on the Rays, part for the heat of the take, but also just because I thought, if there's anybody who could weather a 60-game season, it was the Rays. We talked about this with the Marlins, that they had such a deep system. If anything were to happen, they could just plug guys in and keep rolling. And obviously they didn't have any COVID scares, at least that I can remember, on the level of the Marlins. So they didn't even have to tap into that depth, but they tinkered and tailored and they got their way to the World Series and survived some scares, like you mentioned, against the Astros. Just couldn't quite overcome the Dodgers because I think the Dodgers just had the peak talent. There's one thing to have depth, but there's another thing to have Mookie Betts and, Justin Turner having a very good series and Corey Seager playing like, we haven't seen Corey Seager play like in a very long time. And Cody Bellinger still being on the roster, even if he wasn't quite at his peak as well. And Clayton Kershaw coming through in the postseason in a way maybe we hadn't seen before. And Walker Buehler being your number 2 pitcher. Like, they just rolled over you with talent. And when we were making these predictions, I don't remember if Mookie Betts had signed his extension yet or not. He probably had. But the fact that they were just able to bring him into the fold. And even now, Dodgers are still popping up in trade rumors for Francisco Lindor and Nolan Arenado. And it's like, how do you still have the pieces for that? Oh, wait, you do. Like, you look at their farm system and they still have pieces to pull off another blockbuster, should they so choose. And they obviously have the financial capital to do the same thing. You want to see teams that invest in their club and invest in their players and try to get as much talent as possible and treat the players really well. It seems like, from everything we've heard, coming up through the player development pipeline and be rewarded in that way. And, the Dodgers were able to tip that scale this year. So hats off to them, but don't sleep on the Rays. As we're speaking right now, apparently there's talk of maybe a Blake Snell trade, which feels off to me. But this is a team that's always looking to improve, and they're not just going to sit on themselves and think like, okay, let's run it back. The Rays don't run it back very often. So we'll see what next chapters they have, but they're now at the doorstep in the way the Dodgers were the last couple of years. Maybe they can finally break through in 2021. We'll have to see. Hopefully with Wander Franco, but I'll leave that for the preview episode that we're going to have next spring.
The 2021 prediction show. We'll get there.
Oh boy. I'll be like,
we're gonna have
ready
a lot
right now.
to
Let's
talk
go.
about on that show. Yeah.
there's too many things I can talk about.
If you check the tape, Josh has already made his 2021. Actually, I think
And they were all right.
They were all right.
You just threaded them in there. So those were our predictions, and just how wrong we were when you look back at how young and dumb and innocent we all were 5-6 months ago. But a big thanks to all of you for hanging out with us through another conversation of the 2020 season that was, and the predictions that, largely, I don't think our batting average is very high on these episodes. I'll say that.
It's high enough.
Yeah, exactly. You only need 3 out of 10.
Oh, man. Kelsie, Heneghan, and Josh Jackson, you can find on the site. You can find on the tweets as well. And thanks, guys. As always, we'll do this again in like 4 months.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Last segment before a day of the year in which I do very unhealthy things in terms of my food consumption to myself, and I'm not ashamed of it.
What's your favorite dish? I guess.
So I'm normally like a very my food has to be. I can't usually mix a whole lot of foods. Like, if I've got stuff on the plate, I usually want to keep it all apart, especially if it's like a hot thing and a cold thing. Like, if I get, let's say I go to a place and I'm having a steak and it comes with a salad, that cannot be on the same plate. It cannot be touching like a warm potato or the meat or whatever. But And when it comes to Thanksgiving, everything runs into everything, and it's my favorite. It's like if I get a bite of turkey with mashed potatoes and stuffing and gravy and cranberry and whatever, and it's all piled on top of each other, I love it. But I think my favorite is, I think stuffing. I love me some stuffing.
So I grew up for some reason, and anybody who knows me growing up is going to roll their eyes at this, but like I was a very picky eater, and I just got in my mind that I would not like certain things. So, and stuffing was one of those things. And when I turned like 16 and I was like, screw it, I'm going to have stuffing now. I was like, what do you mean? This is this is fantastic.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is like spiced bread with mixed other things in it. And it's warm and it's gooey. And it's just so good.
So is that your pick? Are you a stuffing guy?
I think it might be still cranberry sauce.
Okay.
I have to be who I am. And I will also add, because I am a weirdo, apparently in some circles, I am a canned cranberry sauce guy.
I don't have any problem with canned cranberry sauce either. I'm good with it.
I know like there's a little bit of metallic taste to it, but like it's just so good.
Yeah, I'm all right with it. It's fine with me. Yeah, I also have no issue with stovetop stuffing. Like it's, I don't know. So ordinarily I'm not traveling for Thanksgiving this year because, trying to be responsible. And ordinarily I go to my mom, originally from New York City. We'll go out there, and that's where her sister still lives. And now my sister lives out there with her family. But normally my aunt makes, like, no exaggeration, like 25 different side dishes for Thanksgiving. And she makes like this just obscenely complicated stuffing that has like all kinds of stuff in it that doesn't need to be in stuffing. That's the kind of, just throw some stovetop on there, man. I don't need any bougie stuffing. Get that out of my face.
What, like, do you guys have like the typical Italian Thanksgiving too? Like, is there ziti?
Oh yeah. We start with the antipasto at like 11 o'clock in the morning. Then we do a full lasagna and meatballs and sausage course. And that's before we have the full Thanksgiving meal, which comes with like 20 some side dishes. So we essentially eat like 7 meals. It's great. Man. It's great. I love it. And I'm going to miss it so much this year, but sure. I'll still find a way to eat myself to a food coma. It'll be delightful.
All that matters is that it's good tasting food and there's lots of it.
Exactly. And we can all watch the Detroit Lions lose. I always cheer for the Lions on Thanksgiving. I remember growing up watching Barry Sanders and being like, man, that guy really deserves to be on a good team. And he never was. I'm sorry, Lions fans. You've got Casey Mize now. If you're a crossover fan of Detroit sport, Pistons seems like they did some fun stuff the other night in the draft. The Red Wings are, whatever they're doing.
They exist.
That reverse retro jersey is woof. I kind of got jobbed there. But sorry, Detroit. We'll lay off of you. That is our Thanksgiving take. And before we get out of here, Sam's got our nationwide prospect fact of the week. How about that segue?
I mean, no, there actually is a segue here.
Yes.
I did not tell Tyler what this segue was going to be, but I was just like, all right, listen, we're going to have our prospect fun fact. It's the week of Thanksgiving, as we established in the first segment. It's not Thanksgiving season. It's just this week. We're not going to do another Thanksgiving related fact next week, but I wanted to find a minor leaguer with the name Turkey in some fashion. In some fashion, and I succeeded somehow. I searched other words. I searched cranberry. I searched gravy. I searched like stuffing. There was no stuffing. I searched stuff, and there was some interesting results there. But
there's got to be like a dude who played for a 1920 Class D North Carolina State League team whose nickname was Turkey.
So this guy I'm going to discuss here, there were 3 guys I found named Turkey, but I want to specifically talk about Turkey Tyson, whose birth name was Cecil Washington Tyson. And Baseball Reference lists him as Turkey Tyson, but his nickname was Slim. I thought Turkey would have been the nickname to go with there, but anyways, his nickname is listed as Slim. Who knows if that's true or not. Turkey Tyson played, according to Baseball Reference, 1,756 games in the minor leagues. He got 6,271 plate appearances. He ended with a career batting average of .309, hit just 18 home runs over 15 seasons. It was a different era. He started in 1938. His last season was in 1952. some of the leagues that he played in 1938 were the Cotton States League and the Georgia-Florida League. Those were in levels C and D. His last season was with Rocky Mount in the Coastal Plain League.
Rocky Mount, which is one of those North Carolina towns that had a bunch of minor league history. So I was sort of close.
Yeah, Rocky Mountain Leafs, if you
The
can believe
Leafs.
that.
Okay.
That was their team name. So Turkey Tyson, like I said, career 309 hitter. He got one at bat in the major leagues.
Like Moonlight Graham.
Basically,
Although
like
he got 0.
Yeah, I would say like Moonlight Graham, except this guy actually got one plate appearance. He appeared for the Philadelphia Phillies against the Boston Braves on Sunday, April 23rd, 1944. He pinch hit for the pitcher in the 9th inning. Unfortunately, did not end well for our friend Turkey. He flew out to third base. Why that's listed as a fly ball on this, despite it going to third base, I'm not sure. The Phillies lost that day 5-0. It was actually a one-hitter. Boston Braves pitcher Jim Tobin went all 9 innings. He only allowed 1 hit and 1 walk, did not strike out a single batter the entire game. Different era for you there on that one. But yeah, one-time All-Star, won the World Series in 1945, did Jim Tobin. So there you go. There's some Turkey Tyson facts if you want to share those around your household come Thursday and you're just sitting around trying to think of what can we do to kill time during halftime of this Lions game or whatever other games are going on Thursday.
I'm very happy to have guessed that he was a North Carolinian who played in random North Carolina leagues. He also, in addition to playing in the Cotton States League, as Sam pointed out, he also played later on in the Tobacco State League, which was in North Carolina. So he, crossed off the staple crops of the Southeast. But did we establish why they list his nickname as Slim? If his name is Cecil Washington Tyson and he's listed on Baseball Reference as Turkey Tyson, is he Turkey or is he Slim?
Baseball Reference nicknames, and maybe this story's already out there. I'm not
He's also
sure.
listed at 6'5", 225, which I feel like he was the largest man in America in the 1940s.
That's probably why he was called Turkey, to be honest. I don't know where Slim comes from. Yeah. 6'5", 225. That's a hefty fella. But yeah, Baseball Reference nicknames, how they come up with this stuff, I'm not sure. The one that always stands out to me is David Ortiz, who has the most notable nickname in baseball of like the last 30 years, maybe. Big Papi, as we all know him. His other nickname on Baseball Reference is Cookie Monster. Don't know where that came from. Don't know why that got added. Like, just leave it at Big Papi. That's totally fine. Just leave it there. But yeah, they throw in some other ones in there as well. So I'm sure there's a story. Maybe that'll be a story we can assign to Josh for next year.
Yeah, yeah.
But there you go.
My,
Story of Turkey Tyson.
My favorite nickname listed on Baseball Reference is I somehow got into looking up a guy named Bob Ferguson who lived from 1845 to 1894. And he was just one of those like very early era baseball lunatics who had like, I think he like beat up umpires and did all kinds of crazy stuff. But his nickname, which I thought was super unique, was Death to Flying Things. Because he was such a good defensive player. But then I learned after tweeting that out, a bunch of people from Mariners Twitter got on me. Franklin Gutierrez, his nickname was Death to Flying Things, that I think Dave Niehaus bestowed on him, the legendary Mariners broadcaster. So I thought Death to Flying Things was just like these, post-Civil War ball players. And apparently not. Apparently Franklin Gutierrez also got that nickname.
I can't tell you the amount of times in which I've seen like Mudcat Grant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, multiple Mudcat Grants.
Yeah, which is very befuddling to me because it will talk about a different era than the current Padres broadcaster played in. And yeah, we should like retire nicknames. That's the next step.
Which, in 2020 would cause a lot of problems because everybody's nickname is just first initial, first syllable of last name.
It's true.
A-Rod. Like that commercial with Andy Roddick. All right, that's enough. We're getting out of here.
Yeah.
He's Sam. I'm Tyler. Happy Thanksgiving. Get in touch with the show if you like. podcast@mylb.com. And take care of yourselves. Be safe. Be smart. Wear a mask. Social distance. Eat as much food as you could possibly enjoy to help yourself to a lovely Thanksgiving. And we hope it's a great one for you and yours. And for Sam, I'm Tyler. We'll talk to you next week.